Thanks for joining me. I was just spending some time here on my mat, collecting my thoughts, and as always, thinking about my next lesson plan and theme for my yoga classes, and also identifying an opportunity to separate some space between my yoga teacher brain and my personal yoga student practice, which is always a challenge. Since introducing myself to Hardwired for Happiness over a year ago when this book was launched, I have seen a resurgence in my teaching and in my practice by applying these 9 principles to my yoga teaching. These principles are not new. The sunflower model is a beautiful gateway to bridge the gap between yoga on the mat and yoga off the mat. So often in our yoga practice, we talk about being a part of something more. And Rewire is an opportunity to shift how you've been showing up as a student or as a teacher and give yourself time to reflect. Yoga is action and reflection. And so much of what we do in yoga is about the action. It's about the practice, the asana, the moving physical act of yoga, which is really only one of the 8 limbs of yoga. We start with self-awareness in the sunflower model, which becomes this pathway as you move along and get to the very last practice, number 9, which is living intentionally. What I started to really see after reading the book and then sharing the practices with my students as a part of my theme and my lesson plans, that this is what would allow me to truly transform my practice as a teacher and as a student off the mat and into my day-to-day life. We say often that following a practice and ending Shavasana, and we come out of that awakened state and we're about to roll up our mat and go out into the world, we often say, this is where the yoga practice begins. When we're in chair pose and we're really breathing through that challenge of taking that deep seat and we feel the heat rising in the body and we feel the mind responding, and maybe there's a bit of agitation or there's a sense of self-discipline, whatever's coming up for you in that moment, there's a lesson to be learned and a rewiring of the brain that can happen, but only if we learn how to take what was happening in that moment, in the asana, and apply it when we're having that same response, when we're triggered by fear or stress off the mat, at work, in our relationships, at home, driving the car. Utilizing the 9 practices and the science behind the art of happiness, we get to shift our brain from this fear response to a happiness response. And once you start to feel that, you learn how to take your practice off the mat and use it in your day-to-day life. So child's pose really can show up for you when you need a moment of gratitude, when you need a moment of self-reflection, when you need a moment to release some stress. I'm so excited to invite you to join me in this journey. If you are a student, you can join me for an upcoming session where we come together for 12 weeks and you can learn how to bring in these practices and pair it with your own personal yoga practice. 12 weeks to explore the 9 practices, and then we come together once a week in a live Zoom session. You'll have your workbooks, your videos, and your practices to study each week, and you'll have a community of people that you'll be a part of. As a teacher, you can check out the certification model to learn more about how to utilize this as a way to grow yourself as a teacher. Becoming a certified yoga teacher for the Rewire program will allow you to host your own programs with your community and take your students through the 12-week experience as well. So reach out if you have questions. I'm very excited to connect with you and help you understand how this journey will truly amplify your practice to go from surviving to thriving. Thank you so much.